My Lords, I beg leave to ask a question standing in my name on the order paper.
The Government has a range of schemes that help people into home ownership, including first homes, shared ownership and the mortgage guarantee scheme. We have raised stamp duty thresholds so that for properties up to £425,000, first-time buyers pay no stamp duty, and for properties up to £625,000, they pay 5% only on the amount above the £425,000 threshold. We remain committed to helping make home ownership a reality for as many young people as possible.
I thank my noble friend for the answer, but it frankly isn't working, is it? If home ownership is so fundamental to this particular age group, then surely we should be more generous. Firstly, remove stamp duty. Secondly, have a savings scheme so that they can save for the deposit, a proper deposit in relation to the level of the market prices. Thirdly, that tax relief should be what it used to be when I and others in this House bought our first houses, on the whole of the mortgage. And finally, and I'm quite prepared to help my noble friend on this, let us approach the mortgage lenders so that when somebody starts on a mortgage, there is a discount from the mortgage lender in the first few years.
Good Conservatives.
Well, my noble friend puts forward a number of different approaches to tackling this problem, and I agree with him on a great many of them. That's why, as I pointed out in my initial answer, we have cut stamp duty for first-time buyers. We also have a saving schemes in place to help people with their deposits, because we know that that is another barrier, and the lifetime ISA applies a 25% government bonus onto the savings that people put into that scheme. And in terms of working with mortgage lenders, we both have the mortgage guarantee scheme, which is looking to expand the availability of 95% mortgages in the market, and we've also worked very closely with lenders in the current market to ensure that those who are struggling to pay their mortgages are properly supported.
My Lords, by abandoning the housing targets, the Government has made home ownership for young people an ever more distant dream. Hard-working young people are increasingly priced out of their areas, squeezed by rents and having their ambition to buy a house taken from them. Can I urge the Minister to reinstate house building targets and to consider a new, more comprehensive mortgage guarantee scheme?
Well, my Lords, since 2010, over 2.5 million additional homes have been delivered, and we have had 4 of the highest annual rates of housing supply in the last 30 years, all since 2018. So we are building more homes because increasing supply is fundamental to helping more people on the housing ladder. But there is more to do. We have our new affordable homes programme going forward that will deliver even more affordable homes to buy and for rent to help people onto the housing ladder.
My Lords, further to Lord Naseby's question, average house prices in London are now 13 times average earnings, and multiples have gone up throughout the country. As a result, many people are having to rent, even though they would prefer to be home buyers, but they can't afford the deposit. Many of them are now paying more in rent than they would on a mortgage. So in addition to the schemes my noble friend has mentioned, don't we need some more ambitious schemes in order to enable more of these people to achieve their ambition of home ownership?
Well, my Lords, the Government completely recognises the issue that my noble friend has set out. The Mortgage Guarantee Scheme is a relatively new scheme, opened in April 2021 and just recently extended to June 2025, extending the availability of 95% mortgages, which helps with that deposit issue because it reduces the amount that people need to save for their deposits. Over 39,000 households have been helped through that scheme already. I would expect many more to be helped in future. And in terms of a sense of scale on the lifetime ISA and the Help to Buy ISA, its predecessor, our other main scheme to help with saving for deposits, under the Help to Buy ISA, we supported over 550 property completions. So I think these are not insignificant support schemes to help people in these areas.
My Lords, in cities such as my own of Manchester and Salford, what many people in this age group are aspiring to in terms of home ownership is an apartment. And yet, however many years we are now on from the Grenfell fire disaster, still too many properties remain unmortgageable. I'm grateful for Lord Greenhouse for the support that he's given to campaigners over the years. Yet still it's the case that people can't get a property because they can't get a mortgage on it. When will the government put an end to this scandal?
Can I reassure the Right Reverend Prelate that we continue to make progress on the cladding issue? It's gone on for too long. We've made significant changes through legislation and other measures to address it, and we will continue to work until everyone in that position has the resolution that they need.
I may have missed the reply.
My Lord, shared ownership is promoted by the government and designed to be a pathway to getting a secure home and a foot on the property ladder. Does the Minister agree with me and the Homeowners Association that this is proving to be a very complex, confusing financial model with several significant drawbacks? The government is increasing the funding for this type of tenure, but what is the government doing to analyse these shortcomings, but not only to quantify them, but to rise to the challenge of meeting them so that more people can access a home through this method?
The Noble Lady is right that shared ownership represents a really important part of our affordable homes programme, and is a really important part actually of helping first-time buyers, in particular younger first-time buyers, onto the housing ladder. We conduct extensive evaluations of our affordable homes programme, and I think we will always seek to learn what we can do to improve those schemes, including the user's experience of them and whether their complexity creates problems further down the line. So we will always look at improving where we can.
My Lords, my noble friend Lord Naseby is undoubtedly right that the mortgage market is broken. But don't we also need to fundamentally look again at the planning system and also at fiscal incentives via the Treasury to particularly small and medium-sized builders that were wiped out in the financial crisis of 2008 so that they can deliver urban extensions and new garden towns and villages to provide much-needed residential accommodation for young working families and young people generally.
My noble friend is absolutely right. Planning is key to this. There were many measures in the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act that are targeted at supporting improving the planning system. We also had announcements at the autumn statement about improving the efficiency of the planning system and putting more resources into that. And he's also right on small and medium-sized builders. Part of the key to supporting them is ensuring that when we have more difficult market conditions, we continue that supply chain and to increase supply. For example, the Affordable Homes Programme can provide a very important role in making sure that they don't go out of business in tougher market conditions.
Yeah, it's one of those
My Lords, in the longer term, it would clearly make homes more affordable for first-time buyers if there were enough homes to go round and current acute shortages were eased. But in the short term, would the Noble Baroness the Minister agree that it's ridiculous to see so many young people paying more in rent to private landlords than they would pay for a mortgage to secure a home of their own if only they could persuade the banks and building societies to lend more sensibly? If she agrees, would the government look at extending the new and useful mortgage guarantee scheme to reassure lenders, and at the DWP's support for mortgage interest scheme, which needs to be a benefit, not a loan, to pick up those rare cases where there are serious arrears?
Well, my Lords, on the first point, I have good news for the Noble Lord. That mortgage guarantee scheme has been extended to June 2025 to allow for more 95% mortgages to be available to first-time buyers. On support for mortgage interest, we've also made changes to that. Since April, we've allowed those on universal credit to apply for support for mortgage interest loan after 3 months rather than 9 months. But I do believe that it's right that it remains a loan rather than a grant in these circumstances.
So if I may finally get in with the question, Lord Naseby raised the point about the benefit which many of us had, which was complete full relief on all the mortgage interest that we had when we were purchasing. Why can't young people have that?
Well, my lords, we obviously consider all different routes to supporting young people into the housing market. One of the drawbacks could be that it is less targeted at those who face the greatest affordability challenges when getting onto the housing market. And I think that's something that we've sought to refine in our programmes over years, is looking at where we can get the biggest impact for the investment that we're making on behalf of the taxpayer. Yeah.